celebration. Good morning, everyone. Ooh, good to see you. I'm Rev Sheree, and this is Unity Church of the Hills. And for those of you who are joining us online, we just appreciate that you are part of our family. We feel the love washing over us. Did you see that segue? Was that not cool? All right. I'm a little hamster sometimes. If you're here for the first time, we welcome you. There are little cards in the seats if you want to fill them out, and when the usher comes by, you can just drop it in the basket, and someone will reach out to you. And if you're joining us online for the first time, you can type connect in the box, and one of our members will support you in knowing more about Unity Church of the Hills. We had someone connect a couple of weeks ago all the way from Brazil. And I'm just like, yes, 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 the message is getting out there. And that's what we want. We want this world transformed, do we not? Yeah, great. Okay, I want to show you a picture. Do you know this cutie patootie? Doesn't she look amazing? This is Joan House. She's one of our founding members, and I had the pleasure of finally meeting her for the first time on Thursday. I've spoken to her on the phone, but I didn't get an opportunity with all the COVID and blah, 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 blah. And so I got to have lunch with her and Becky Brayfogle, who is part of the women's group. There you are. Would you stand for a moment? Becky got in contact with me and set up our meeting, so I'm just really grateful. Thank you, Becky. And Becky's part of the women's group, and how this came into being is that Joan put out a, hey, if anybody can assist, I need help going to the doctors and things of that nature. Becky stepped up. And then I just watched the two of them fall in love, basically, over lunch. I mean, they're so connected and so loving. And I asked Joan if it would be okay for me to share her beautiful picture. Where she's at in Round Rock is just stunning. That's a waterfall in the atrium. And we had a blast, and she is just all sparkly, sharp as a tack. Really amazing and just filled with loving energy. So it was just a joy to connect, you know, and it's part of that history. So I told her, I'm coming back. That's right, if you're online, I'm coming back, because I think there are just so many juicy stories and pieces for her to fill out for me as I get saturated at Unity Church of the Hills. So thank you, Joan. Mwah. So that was Joan. All right, so where are we? We are doing Finding Yourself in Transition, and we are going to be doing a workshop today from 2 till 5, and then next Sunday from 2 till 5. They will be virtual, both of them, and they're going to be facilitated by our LUTs, Linda Hancock and Rick Busby, and our LUT candidate, Sandra Vela. Why are we doing this work, you may be wondering? We're doing this work because we as a community are in transition. We are in transition. So transition happens when there are endings and also when there are new beginnings, right? So I want us to talk about it. I want us to talk about change. And so that's why we're going to be doing these workshops. So for these 2 Sundays, my talk is also going to be mirroring what the workshop is. The workshop goes a lot deeper, though. So if you can do that, you can still join today. And then the spirit circles are also going to mirror that as well. They are going to be doing Finding Yourself in Transition, and they're going to do it at their own pace. Small group, having conversation, intimate connection, looking at the process of change. So that's really juicy, so there's still time if you want to sign up for that. And then I want to mention that there is a new position, and we're talking about this as staff reimagining. You know, since I've come on board, there's been lots of shifting with staff and people finding themselves wanting to do other things. So Rick Busby, our LUT, he came on board staff right when COVID was kind of starting and kicking off, because his real job, I'll call it real, like this is a real job too, but you know what I mean. His real job was kind of shrinking due to COVID. And so he came on board, and he really filled a huge need for us doing marketing and social media things. Well, now his real job is picking back up big time. and they're going to start in March with this new rollout of product, financial product, and he's like, I can't do it all. So he's going back full-time to his other job, which pays, he did tell me it pays a little better. And so that then leaves an opening for us there. Our volunteer coordinator, we have an opening there. So it's kind of like we looked at this now from kind of an objective strategy perspective. And what we're looking to do is having a full-time marketing and events manager. I think that will serve our community a whole bunch better. And Linda Hancock is going to take over a lot of the responsibilities for the volunteer coordinator because as a YFM director and pastoral care, she interfaces with the volunteers regularly. So how that works is going to shift a little bit because I don't want her to be overwhelmed and going, oh my God, I can't do Shonda. Nobody can do Shonda. We know that. So we're going to look together, Linda and I, on how do we streamline her functions so that it's manageable for her as well. So if there's some of you who have applied to the volunteer coordinator and you think it just went into space, that's what's been happening. We were looking at the bigger picture and how to reimagine this in a healthy way. Because when I look back, we used to have 17 staff members. 17. We're down to 9. That's significant, my friends. So it's how do we manage our resources in a way that's healthy? And, I'm really big on life-work balance. How do we do it in a way that people want to come here, not get burnt out, and have a life? So, that's not a little job, is it? All right, so I just, I keep telling you I want to be transparent. I want you to know what's going on. And so I know it sounds boring, but I want you to know what's going on. Our kids, let's just hold them in our hearts, knowing that this year they're going to have a fabulous year, a way better year than last year, and that we just see them creating anew in new ways. So we just hold them in that knowing. And then, what else do we have? We have our mission vision statement, and today we're going to focus on our mission. And once again, this is how we show up as individuals in this community. Together, we put God first, celebrate life, serve truth, and empower people to transform their lives. Whew, that feels good, doesn't it? All right, I'm going to invite Brian to come on up. Brian Kurtz is our prayer chaplain, and he's just got such a beautiful spiritual consciousness, so I've invited him to do the opening prayer. Our stunning, gorgeous Roderick. I just am all over you. You know that. We'll do the sound bowl for us. So take it in. This is your time.
I love that washing over us. One of the most simple, profound, beautiful truths I've gained in my 6.5 years in the unity movement is the concept of transition at the quote-unquote end of a life. And that concept of transition, I'd always carried that as a death, an ending. And transition in that context is a spirit comes into this form, and then spirit moves on. But it's always spirit. And then I started looking, I love words, transcribing, taking something from the heart and putting it onto a page. It's going from here to here. Transportation, going from here to there. But it's a journey. It's about taking something that looks to be separate and bringing it into a whole, to zoom out and feel that, to know that as a whole. The transition that we're going through here is all just a part of a much greater, longer whole. And this thing has to categorize and analyze and separate everything from everything else. But when we can go from here to here, it becomes whole. Change is hard when we are not holding it as a whole. Challenges. Well, I want this, but I got that. It's all so much easier when we see it as a whole. So hold today as a day in a life, as a moment in a day, but make it bigger. We are expansive spiritual beings that are able to hold pieces as a whole. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Sweet Spirit, who lives in each of us, our eachness in the allness that you are. Help us to hold ourselves, our moments, our preferences as a part of a whole in the life that you give us to share, to be in the oneness, so that any changes, transitions, are able to be seen zoomed out in a larger perspective, in the wholeness, in the allness that lives in each one of us every day. Help us touch that place. Help us be in the awareness of that place and walk from there. And so it is, and so we let that be. Amen.
I know this is a different way of doing things. But this light over here, our ASL, Becca Cooper, she's got some news. They have some news, I should say.
Okay, I was letting them know that I will interpret in just a moment. Many of you have been praying for me and lifting me up over, well, the past 9 years that I have been here, but especially on this journey that I've been on for the last 3 years. This journey of seminary. And I would like to let you know and thank you for the ways that you have supported me. I interviewed for 3 positions for a residency. It's for a 1-year chaplain residency, and I have been granted all 3. So now I have a choice. And those choices are possible because of this community and because of the oneness that you have all helped me to walk in. So thank you.
I just couldn't let that moment go because this is an amazing light for our community. Becca will also be speaking here on March 13th, so I hope that you will come on out and support them as they continue on this amazing journey. Here's the thing, when we are doing what's ours to do, people move on to greatness. That's what we want for them. Even though I'm like, what do you mean you're gonna leave me for a year? Right? We celebrate them. So congratulations, Becca.
too afraid to believe it, or not good enough to receive it. My season's gone, so why should I need it? This was the story of my life. Told so much that I wasn't worthy. I even tried, but nothing but hurt me. I shouted, but thought God never heard me. I became the victim of my life. See, everybody goes through the fire, but not everyone comes out like gold. I started low, but God took me high. He gets the praise and the world will know. I will live and not die. I will win with tears in my eyes. I'll be judged and criticized only by those who are afraid to try. I'm living in blessings and favor. See, God exchange my pain for something greater for me. Right now, not later, for all you've been through. Blessings and favors waiting for you. Favor, ooh, favor, blessings and favor.
So you can't let your problems override your promise. And don't let your feelings dictate your faith.
I was too afraid to believe it, or not good enough to receive it. My season's gone, so why should I need it? This was the story of my life. Told so much that I wasn't worthy. I even tried, but nothing love hurt me. Shouted, but thought God never heard me. I became the victim of my life. See, everybody goes through the fire, but not everyone comes out like gold. I started low, but God took me high. He gets the praise and the world will know. I will live and not die. I will win with tears in my eyes. I'll be judged and criticized only by those who are afraid to try. I'm living in blessings and favor. See, God exchange my pain for something greater for me. Right now, not later, for all you've been through. Blessings and favors waiting for you. Favor, ooh, favor, blessings and favor. See, favor's the material things, none of the treasures this world can bring. It's when God's hand is on your life, and when you know what real love means. I'm living in favor,
In your mind,
ooh, favor,
over your job,
favor,
God has
blessings and favor for
over your
you.
life,
Favor,
over your children,
favor,
over your future.
favor, blessings and favor for
I
you.
will live
Favor,
and not die,
ooh,
because
favor,
I've got
never-ending God-given favor. I will live and not die. I will win with tears in my eyes. I'll be judged and criticized only by those who are afraid to try. I'm living in blessings and favor. See, God exchange my pain for something greater for me. Right now, not later, for all you've been through. Blessings and favors waiting for you.
sending you
Favor,
God's favor
ooh, favor,
over your life.
favor,
Oh yeah,
ooh, favor,
eyes haven't seen,
favor,
ears haven't heard,
ooh,
and
favor,
I've got
never-ending God-given favor.
Thank you, Celebration. Really like cool songs, right? Like we're in favor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So we're talking about transformation. You know, if you're confused, unsure, you're in the right place for transformation, right? Here's the deal. We're born and we die. Nobody's getting out of here without that, right? We're clear on that. Good. And then everything is change. Everything is change. And yet we spend so much of our time in resistance to change. We would rather hold on to the past. Even if we weren't thriving, we weren't happy, even if we're in pain and it no longer serves us, we'll hold on to that. Even if we're just marking time. No highs, no lows, day in, day out. We would rather hold on to mediocre existence than to deal with the confusion and uncertainty of change, even if that change means something amazing. Why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we do that as human beings? Why do we hold on to something that isn't for our highest good? Well, because we know what it is. We're pretty comfortable. We like knowing what to expect. We've learned how to cope with the pain. And you know what? That's how I lived my first 30 years on this planet. First 30 years. And I thought it might be helpful for you to get a snippet of my life and who I am and where I come from and how I used to deal with change in the past. You see, at that time, my badge of honor was that I was a strong survivor. Survivor of trauma. Survivor of recreated trauma. I was an Olympic medalist in pain endurance. I used to say pain was my greatest motivator. I'm grateful I don't have to live like that anymore, right? And I used to think other people had these charmed lives, but I had no idea what their walk or their journey was. And it's from our own life experiences that we make these judgments about others. We often think, oh, the grass is greener over there. And we react to their words and their actions based on our own preconceived beliefs, preconceived ideas. So here I am working as your minister, and so my question to you is, what preconceived ideas do you have of me? Because I know you have them. Who do you say I am? Do you say that I am the angry black woman? Do you see me as less of a leader based on my gender or based on my race? So let me answer a couple of those questions for you. Societally, we have been conditioned to see an individuated black woman or a woman of color as angry. And any woman in power is taking liberties beyond her station. That's our society. That's what we live in. So don't think you didn't come in here with those already in your mind or in your belief system. Of course you did. How could you not? How could I not? Am I an angry person? No, I don't think I am. Can I get angry? Oh, baby, yes. Oh, yes, I can. Do I label myself as African American? I do not. Couple of reasons. I wasn't born here. Second is I'm multiracial. Multiracial means that, yes, I have African genes, but I also have Carib Indian, East Indian, British, English, and Scottish. I'm a lovely mutt, and I love it. My father's mother was a white English woman who created a huge scandal by living with my grandfather. And they couldn't get married because that was not done in that society. This is a picture of my grandmother, which is my mom's mother. That's about 8 years before my grandmother transitioned, and we're coming up to a year almost of my mom passing. My parents were immigrants, and I was the oldest child of two. And we came from London, England. And I think it's around somewhere between 6 and 8, so I'll just say 7. That'll be easy. And we come from a matriarchal line with mixed messages of women being subservient to men. So you can understand that was pretty confusing. And as many of you know, my first religion was Catholicism, or maybe I should say Catholicism. And early in my adult life, I used to say that I was a recovering Catholic because the God that I learned about was all-powerful and vengeful. And the doctrines of the Catholic Church supported me in my belief that I was a sinner and unworthy. So, of course, I became very fearful of God. That's me at 17. I didn't even know I was cute back then, okay? It's amazing. You know, when you look back at your pictures, you're like, oh, wow. That's what happened there. And my early adult life was really filled with a lot of upheavals, and I had several crises of faith. And my relationship with God back then, non-existent. I was furious with God. I felt that He was punishing me unmercifully and without cause. And in my journey, I came into the awareness that I was damaged in my childhood. And my adult patterns of being in relationship with others was my attempt to fix my childhood. Do you hear me? How many times do we go about doing that very same thing until we get awakened in clarity? And I was really comfortable continuing those painful patterns because that's how it was. That's how life is supposed to be. Robert Brumet, in his book, Finding Yourself in Transition, using life's changes for spiritual awakening. And this is the book that we will be looking at in the workshop, in the spirit groups in the next 2 weeks. He writes about our resistance to change. We often fear and resist change. Our resistance is often subtle and unconscious. There is a part of us that stubbornly clings to the old and the familiar. There is something within us that unconsciously resists these very changes that we consciously desire. The greatest of all human fears is fear of the unknown, and change, especially deep or sudden change, almost always confronts us with the unknown. So for me, eventually in therapy, I learned about family systems and breaking the cycle of dysfunction. And I also learned how to make better choices in my relationships, as well as individuating and owning myself. Yet there was still something missing, that spiritual connection, because our soul yearns for that connection. And then eventually in the 80s, I found unity. And that's a picture of the Lincoln Center. The building to the right is Avery Fisher Hall. And in Avery Fisher Hall, that is where Eric Butterworth had his Sunday messages. And there were thousands of us there listening. And for me, that was really where my transformation started. My spiritual life became richer. I transcended religious dogma. My life started to shift and flourish. I was in the possibilities, the what ifs, can't wait to see what's coming. And then I remember thinking, wow, people should really know about this kind of God. This is a really cool God. I should be able to share that with others. And then I quickly dismissed that that's not going to be me who does it. You see, I felt sure that it had to be someone who was pious and worthy enough to do this work. And then I was in New York. My career took off. I got really busy. And after years of that career, I came to a crashing end of a business venture, which felt like the end of my life. That business was my baby, and it was a tea shop. because, British tea, that's what we do. And it was just everything that I wanted it to be, and we were in a recession. When you're in a recession, people don't think about going out for tea, do they? So that was the end. Brumet writes this: "Indeed, every change is a type of death, a death to an old way of living or being. Yet, ironically, change, a dying to the old, is one of the defining characteristics of growth. Yet we fear death. And this very fear of death, the fear of change, is also our fear of life itself. To be fully alive, we must be willing to be changed, to surrender into the moment without resistance. We must be willing to die daily. Die daily." Unknowingly, simply because it was the end of a business, I entered into this process of transition. And endings is the first stage of being in transition. And here's the tricky part. When we are in that place of loss, we cannot spiritually bypass our emotions. Those emotions of sadness, of grief, of loss. If we don't do our work, here's the consequences. We simply carry the unfinished business of the past into the future. Most of us do not handle endings very well. We haven't been trained to do that in our society. And as a result of our denial, many of us carry a reservoir of grief. Can you imagine carrying a reservoir of grief from previous losses in our life? Each ending may trigger this unresolved grief from the past as well as from the current loss. So let's look at this from a different perspective, right? Here at UCOH, you've been in transition from the moment Steve said, "It's time for me to retire." After 10 years of loving service, you probably went, "Oh!" Right? I heard we did. Yeah, that's the first push because of that ending, and that's a major piece to this community. Because of that ending, it pushes you now into transition. And when you go into that process, yours is to do the work of grieving, of feeling of the loss that comes up. And then quickly what happened then is a couple of years later, the Grandins left, right? And if we didn't give ourselves permission to do that first set of work, the feeling the grief, through Reverend Steve's leaving now, then we've got the Grandins on top of that. Guess what's happening? We've got compounded grief. And compounded grief, my friends, it takes a lot of work. It takes a longer process to work through compounded grief. And during our time of loss, we're going to feel a lot of different things. One of them is called disenchantment. And disenchantment comes when the thing or the person we have trusted or based our love on disappears, is no longer there. It may feel like the bottom has dropped out. Like when you discover your minister's about to retire. Or after we open our hearts to new ministers, and then they are suddenly gone, we can feel both disappointment that their abrupt leaving didn't meet our expectations, as well as disenchantment. And then there could be this sense of disorientation and a level of disengagement because of the complexity of the loss. And we've seen that. We've seen people who have just checked out, who have left. It's just a lot. It's a lot of emotions if we don't deal with them in a healthy way. And after major endings, it can challenge our beliefs of how we think things should be and what they should look like. And then we enter into the next stage of transition, which is called the void, V-O-I-D, the void. And this stage is one filled with confusion and chaos. And we don't like that because nothing seems to make sense. And sometimes it feels like we're walking in quicksand, and the day-to-day is just kind of blasé. And sometimes this sense of loss can trigger what's known as the dark night of the soul. Have you heard of that before, the dark night of the soul? Yeah. And the dark night of the soul, we question our own reality. We question God. Does God even exist? We question our connection to anything higher than ourselves. We find it hard to focus or remember things. And maybe for a time we wish we could just step off the planet for a little bit. Ever felt that? Yeah? Those of you who are sitting that the sun is just blazing down, please move. Don't sit there and just be blinded. Please move. Be comfortable. This is your home. This is your home. You're not going to disturb me. It takes a lot more than that. But this time of emptiness and uncertainty, my friends, is vital. It's necessary. It's necessary. The universe needs this void to create form, to bring things new into existence. This is a sacred time of fallowness that is necessary for revitalization. It's in this not knowing, it's in the confusion, it's in the disarray that Spirit comes in and has its way with us. Did you hear that? So in my situation, after my business closed, I was kind of in that place of confusion. I'm like, what? What am I doing? I thought this was it. This is what I was going to retire from. No. And I heard the nudge. I heard the nudge. When are you going to do what is yours to do? When are you going to allow yourself to become what you are meant to be? And I heard it loud and clear. Even though that it was a low time in my life, I did believe that my soul needed to be the catalyst for whatever I did next. Brumet says this: we are each being called to go beyond ourselves as we know, as we now exist. Step by step, day by day, the plan unfolds before our very eyes. The path we must take is the path we are on. Once I realized and accepted that being a minister was my purpose here, I gotta tell you, miracles like I can't believe happened that just got me into seminary really fast. Got us relocated from Florida to Kansas City, all expenses paid by a company that Graham just started working at 10 miles away from seminary. I mean, it was like those kind of things that you can't even plan for, just amazing. So I started my talk off with asking, who do you say I am? Who do you think I am? And so I'm going to refer to this verse from the New Testament, Mark chapter 8, verses 29 and 30. And Jesus is hanging around talking to one of his disciples, or actually it was a group of his disciples. And he asked them, but who do you say that I am? And Peter answered him, you are the Messiah. And then Jesus sternly says, not to tell anyone about him. Now, I've always found this verse to be very confusing. So you know what? I went for help. The Bible commentary suggests two reasons why Jesus is asking the question. The first one is to discern whether the disciples had a clear understanding of who he was. Others suggest that it was to challenge their concept of their belief of what a Messiah would do and look like. But then Jesus quickly says, don't tell anyone. Why would he say that? Now, some theologians say that it was to avoid those who would crown him king, while others suggest it was to avoid those who would destroy him. And now we're going to take a look deeper, metaphysically. We know that the term Jesus refers to the divine perfection of man. The divine perfection of man. And we're talking about the species, not guys, right? Okay. And Messiah means the visible manifestation of the Christ. The visible manifestation of the Christ. So from that verse, we can see that the question and answer is about the perfection of the indwelling Christ within us. The indwelling Christ within us. But then I'm like, well, why shouldn't we shout that? Why shouldn't we be talking about that? Why shouldn't we be telling everyone? And I think it's because our ego, our mind likes to have the answer. It loves to be right. It loves to know. And then it feels empowered and confident. It's got the answer, starts strutting around. I got this. I know everything. I'm enlightened now. Oh, I don't think so, right? So when we allow our mind, our personality to think we have it all figured out, we lose the ability to shift, to grow, and transform. So living in uncertainty is about living in the possibility, the probability, and the mystery. It allows us to bring clarity, wonder, heightened awareness to our experience. Who am I? Who do I say I am? It's to question our beliefs. It's to question how we think the world operates. And this state can feel uncomfortable, but the richness from it is just amazing. So when asked who I am, I could say, well, I'm the minister here at Unity Church of the Hills. But I choose to live in the question. I choose to live in the question and ask myself the question of, well, what does the minister of Unity Church of the Hills mean? What does it look like? What do I do? How do I engage? What does authenticity mean? What does transparency mean? And what does being in transition with you all mean as well? So I'm hoping that you come to the understanding that we as a spiritual community are in the midst of transition. That's where we're at. And we're at a time of recreation. And you also can be in the question of, what do you think a minister should be? How should they be operating with you? Why do you attend Unity Church of the Hills? Are you here to socialize? Are you here to be inspired? Are you here to be entertained? Are you here to shift consciousness? Are you here for great change and transformation? Those are your questions. So this week, when you are in meditation, I'm inviting you to be in the question. To be in the question of what is yours to do in this community. How do you want to show up? How do you want the community to feel around you? Because that's how Spirit comes in and starts revitalizing and creating. Namaste. Thank you.
The one that people cannot see. me and you. My heart is open. My heart was broken, but now it's open. No guards up in your presence, no. I'm listening for your voice. Speak to me now. I really need to hear a word from you. Yeah. I don't have to be anyone else but me when I'm with you. You're the only one who knows that I go through. Not my will, but your will be done in my life. As you please, no longer will I hide from you. I stand in spirit and in truth, even when I fall from you. We are united. Here with you this moment. No longer will I hide from you. No mask in your presence. I will. I'll be naked and unashamed, even when I'm far from you. We are united. We are united in this moment with you. No longer will I hide from you. No mask in your presence. I will. I'll be naked and unashamed, even when I'm far from you. We are united. We are united in this moment with you. You healed my heart. Now I give it to you. No longer hiding. I wanna be real with you. I'm waiting. I'm desperate for your voice. I won't let go until you bless my soul. Yeah. Only you know real me. Yeah. Behind closed doors, you see the real me. Yeah. I cast aside my crown. I'm humbled in your presence. Use me as you please. Use me as you please. My heart is open.
Reggie. We've all had our hearts broken at one time or another. But what if that broken heart is what frees you to be used by Spirit? Take a deep breath in. Exhale into this moment Exhaling, releasing from your mind, moving your energy into your heart chakra area. Letting the thoughts just drift by as they pop up. Those thoughts are not you. Those thoughts do not define you. Move deeper, deeper within, deeper within. And allow your heart to open. Allow your heart to open in this sacred place, knowing that you are safe here, knowing that you are seen and you are loved. No matter what, no matter what. Take a deep breath in and go deeper to the essence of your soul. And allow that tingling, hidden joy, that peace that is hoping, that wants to trust, allow it to bubble up. You are beloved. Allow that love to connect with each person in this sanctuary. Just energetically connect. You can see that happening. And then allow that to connect with our community online. And our community online, allow yourselves to connect here to this sacred space. And feel my energy of love connecting to each and every one of you, here and online. And feel that connectedness, that powerful energy of love lifting up in a new way, empowered, revitalized, filled with passion, with hope, with possibility. And then allow that energy to just dissolve and sprinkle over each of you. And feel, just feel the true essence of who and what you are, the perfection of God in skin. Ready to be the visual representation of the Christ. Breathe into that. Feel that power and that truth in a moment of silence. And at the sound of my voice, allow that powerful feeling of renewal, of possibility, to fill all those places of doubt, all those places of fear. Feel yourself being integrated into the totality of who you are. Allow yourself to be seen. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to be open. Because I see you, God in skin, beautifully made, wondrous. Feel that truth, know that truth. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Bring your essence, your consciousness to this sacred space. Allow your feet to feel the ground. Your fingers wiggling. Maybe stretch out a little bit. And be renewed. Be the truth that you are already. I'm waiting for you. Namaste. So I don't normally do this, but I'm going to introduce Rick. Rick Viator is our accountant. You may not have put a face to the name, and I've invited him to do our offering. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you. You said 15 minutes, right? I get 15 minutes?
No, 2.
2 minutes. Darn. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Unity family. It's your old buddy Rick, friendly neighborhood UCOH accountant. Now, I am super new to Unity, like an infant. But the first time I came here, and especially after I met Rev, holy moly, this super interesting, cool. I need to find out some more stuff about this, and I was hooked. So with my accounting brain, I did some accounting magic. Like, what is this prosperity thing? So I came up with this. When you give, it makes you happy. It fills your soul to overflowing. And all that overflowing goes out into the universe all around you. It's like a force field of, as Al Green would say, love and happiness. And all that love and happiness touches everything around you and brings it back into you. It helps everything. So, for all intents and purposes, brothers and sisters, you're superheroes. We are superheroes with force field powers. So, you have no choice but to push that force field further and further out to help the entire universe and give them force field powers just like we have. That's my working theory. It's science, so it's obviously true. We're going with it. So I'll invite the ushers forward. Thank you, thank you. Accountant, scientist, superhero. Lots of hats I'm wearing. So ladies and gentlemen, I invite the ushers to come forward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the ways to give. You can text UCOH to 833-713-7700, which is right up here. You can give online, the web or Facebook. The UCOH app, which is how I give. You can mail a check. You can come give your old buddy Rick some cash. Whatever. There's also cards in the pews if you would like to write a prayer, or if you would like to work with the chaplains. They are also available if you need some spiritual help. That's absolutely the way to go. Thank you guys so much for being my family, and that's all I got.
Let's do our blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate, and I am grateful. talking in the term of prosperity. That is one thing that God can assist you with. But we're going to sing a little bit more because you know that God can do everything.
God can do anything,
Yes, they can.
anything and everything. There ain't nothing God cannot do. God can do anything, anything and everything. God can do everything but fail.
And stepping into that knowing, you know that God can also heal. And if you believe and you speak it, it shall be. Come on, let me hear you say.
God can do anything,
God can heal.
anything and everything.
There ain't
Nothing
my God
God
can.
cannot do.
Say God can heal
Anything
anything.
and everything.
Let me say that God can do everything.
But fail.
All right, so we're being healed. And in that healing, it is time for us to move. Take one step. He'll take two. Let's go.
God can do anything, anything and everything. There ain't nothing God cannot do. God can move anything, anything and everything. God can do everything but fail.
Not yet, hold on. Reggie got a little excited because he knows that God can handle anything. And now we're going to get in time with the music. Come on, Reggie. Say it. God can handle anything. Yes, he can.
Anything and everything.
There ain't nothing
There ain't nothing
my God
God
can do.
cannot do.
So God can
God
handle.
can handle anything,
Yes, he can.
anything and everything.
See, God
God
can.
can do anything but fail. God can do anything but fail. God can do anything but fail.
Say God can do.
God can do
Anything.
anything
But fail. That God
God
can
can
do.
do
Anything.
anything but fail.
God can turn.
Turn anything, anything and everything. There ain't nothing God cannot do. God can turn anything, anything and everything. God can do everything but fail.
Say it again. God can do.
God can do anything but fail.
God can do. God can do.
God can do anything but fail.
Say it like you mean it.
God can do anything but fail.
God can do anything. Whew. Thank you, Christina, for bringing this. Thank you for placing in this so much love and so much good and so much us. Living, loving Spirit, good friend God, thank you for all that is here, for all that we give and all that we receive, that we may share and receive even more, to share more. And it goes on and on and on so beautifully. Thank you for the blessings that we know at Unity Church of the Hills. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. Just the announcements. I sat in the service, though, and I kept thinking, we got good. Don't we got good? Whoa. You can connect with praying chaplains for a one-on-one praying service in the chapel. There will be 3 wonderful We Got Good chaplains, Cliff and Lou, and somewhere there's a Julie, and she'll be there too. Or you can, if you're home, looking at us on YouTube, you can call that number on your screen. A chaplain will call you. And we want to thank the prayer chaplains, and I accept your thanks as I am one myself, for the wonderful opportunity that we have to serve this beautiful congregation, this wonderful community. We got good with our board. This afternoon, the third Sunday, we have an opportunity to mingle and connect with the newcomers of the community, members of the board, the staff. We encourage everyone to join us via Zoom at 1 o'clock this afternoon, especially those of you new to our community. Log in and say hello and give us an opportunity to get to know you. We got good with praying chaplains. A good example was Brian and the wonderful opening prayer today. God bless you. Thank you, Brian. This is kind of tricky because it's written by staff about praying chaplains. I being one, I kind of don't know which pronoun to use. We are so grateful for our praying chaplain team at Unity Church of the Hills. They, we, I provide a lay ministry presence that is spiritually mature and committed to reaching out in affirmative prayer, comfort, and support for our congregation. Now here's the pitch. If you would like to even think about being a praying chaplain, if you're at home and would like to think about being a praying chaplain, talk to a praying chaplain. We are starting now our recruiting for new praying chaplains going forward. For the next Sunday and then the 2 Sundays skipping one, that's the 27th, the 13th, and the 20th. Yeah. After this service, we will have praying chaplains available somewhere down the hall to talk to you, to answer questions about being a praying chaplain. I've been one for 15 years. I've gotten a heck of a lot from Unity Church of the Hills, but nothing comes close to what I've gotten as being a praying chaplain. So there's also a brochure that looks like this at the kiosk facing the front door. Get one on your way out. It answers a lot of questions, like how busy you're really not doing it. Okay, long enough on that. We got good. We got good because we've got a minister. Where'd she go? She already leave? She's got guts. We got good because you got guts. Reverend Sheree, the board, and staff cordially invite you to join us on Sunday, 2 Sundays from now, March 6th, right after this service. You probably won't even want to leave your seat for a very special town hall meeting, a meeting that provides a divine opportunity for the entire Unity Church of the Hills community to come together in open dialogue to express our needs, our hopes, and our desires from the Unity Church of the Hills leadership and staff and congregation as we continue to navigate this time of transition and transformation. We got good. Next Sunday, Reverend Sheree will explore the topic together. Let's find the promised land. The promised land is real, but it's not a destination. It's a state of consciousness. The promised land is knowing of truth, for we are all God. The promised land calls us to be the light of the world. The promised land resides in the frequency of love. I think very high frequency, ultra high frequency, Unity Church of the Hills high frequency. We get better. So let's say the prayer of you know what it is. Let's say it. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us, and all is well. One last good. I want to say one last good. Show us your tie, Lucy.
You're free to move about the room now.
I was super afraid to believe it, or not good enough to receive it. My season's gone, so why do I need it? This was the story of my life. Told so much that I wasn't worthy. Even tried love, but then love hurt me. Shouted, but fuck, God never hurt me. I became the victim of my life. See, everybody goes through the fire, but not everyone comes sorrow.